Welcome to Hampton Park in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm standing on a peninsula touching the east coast of the vast Atlantic Ocean. You can smell the ocean water as it breezes off the shore and mixes with the flora of these amazing gardens. Oh, you can smell the salt in the air. That's that smell of the ocean. This park was designed by the Olmsted brothers. They are the sons of the same architect and designer who designed Central Park in New York. Now, the park we're on today has roughly about 60 acres. Now take a look at the Spanish moss and how it drapes over these crepe myrtle trees. Whoa! It's a very uniquely southern delight. It's a southern treat. This southern delight. See how this Spanish moss hangs over this crepe myrtle tree. What a true delight. Spanish delight. Spanish mossy delight. Spanish mossy delight. On this crepe myrtle tree. Yes, sir. Hey now. On this crepe myrtle tree. We got large palmettos trees up here as well. And a huge, huge magnolia tree. I'm not sure how old it is, but it's definitely a magnolia tree. Starting to bloom already. This gazebo, you can even hear your voice echoing as you sit in the central region. In the central circular area of this gazebo. And this is also a bandstand where bands in the early 1900s would play. Now, something unique about Charleston is this is the home of a superstar who played and wrote and, well, no, he didn't write it because the writer actually ended up dying of an overdose. A great show on HBO called Eastbound and Down. And that superstar, actor, his name is Danny McBride. And every once in a while in Charleston, you can actually see Danny McBride walking around. I believe he advertises his tequila company with his co-star of the show, who actually honestly stole the show. Stevie, I believe his name was. I even laugh when even when I think about that show, I laugh. Anyhow, this is the home of Danny McBride. So if you're ever in Charleston, just know that he's around here, and he's a really funny guy. Now, Spanish moss is an indicator that we are in Dixie. Now you may ask me, dear Doosty, Dixie sounds very similar to another word. And I would happily respond and say, yeah, Dixie. Well, we're in the land of Dixie. You've crossed over to Dixie. We are simply smothered in Dixie over here. Now don't be embarrassed, YouTube. It's not the word you're thinking of. Honey child, now you get your head out of the dumpster. Now the word Dixie refers to the region south of the Mason-Dixon line, and the term is historically tied to regional pride and geographical awareness. Tisk, tisk. Now this park dates all the way back to the Colonial days, all the way to 1769. That's a nice peach color. That's a nice peachy color. Smells good. Smells pungent. Smells pungent and fragrant. Very nice. Flora mixed with the scent of saltwater breeze coming in off the Atlantic coast in Charleston. I highly recommend that show, Eastbound and Down, with Danny McBride on HBO. It is I believe one day it's going to go into the Library of Congress. It is just a classic comedy about baseball. And a lot of the filming and shooting takes place in South Carolina. Rest in peace. I'm not sure if the writer, R.I.P., if he was from South Carolina or not, but it's a good, wholesome family show. Check it out. During the War of Independence, the Brits seized this area and used this garden as a staging area for their assault on the city of Charleston. Now, if you know your history well, you'll know that the British lost. Then in 1791, a part of this park was made into a racetrack for elite horse racing, which lasted for almost 90 years. This was an area for the wealthy of South Carolina to have a social powwow. and to pass their time staring at fast-moving sport horses being ridden by miniature people. During the Civil War, this is where Confederate prisoners were conveniently kept. Now, somewhere under this soil here is a mass grave of over 200 Confederate bodies.
Hey, Goosey, can you tell me why the water's so green? Can you tell me? Huh? Can you tell me why the water's so green? You want to snap my neck? Huh? You want to break my face? Tell me why the water's so green. Can you? Can you tell me why the water's so green over here?
That's a big male goose that I'm not going to get closer to. In 1865, after the war ended, thousands of freed slaves and Union troops came here to adorn the graves with flowers. In their catharsis, they would proceed to picnic, parade, and prance on the mass grave. This would be the origin spot of our national holiday, today known as Memorial Day. This is a water bird. I'm not sure what kind, but check it out. Check it out. Look at that bird. That's the bird. In the early 1900s, a World Expo was held here, naming itself the Ivory City. This was a marketing campaign that aimed for better relations with the areas of the Caribbean and Latin America post-Civil War. Out here on these paths, we have very dreamy pathways, and they're lined very thoughtfully. We have Italian stylized garden structures, footbridges, and very finely sculpted walking paths for our feet to happily traipse on. And oh, what a sight that is, to be able to wander in this beautiful garden and to hear our footsteps. It's always a sensation to hear your feet. You're in a park and you hear the gravel underneath your feet crunching. Quite therapeutic and relaxing, because you can really measure your gait. You can measure your pace. You can time it. A faster pace or a slower pace. Either way, you can hear the gravel. Hearing that gravel underneath your feet and feeling it does something to your subconscious mind. The Rose Pavilion here has around 200 rose bushes, and each year horticulturalists plant thousands of flowers from on-site greenhouses. Daffodils, tulips, delphiniums, salvias, don't smoke the salvia, zinnias, echinacea, and of course, cosmos. Don't just smoke the salvia, man. If you look up YouTube footage of people smoking salvia, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't support the salvia smoking community, even though the plants and flower, and the salvia flower exists here in this park. Don't smoke it, man. Thanks for joining me today on this Charleston garden tour of Hampton Park. If you're sick and tired of the concrete jungle of Charleston, then you've come to the right place. This is a spot of pure natural beauty and sweet-smelling serenity. Get over to this park and snort some floral air while doing breathing exercises with the big trees. These trees need our emissions. So it is it's a symbiotic relationship that we've established with trees. It's quite amazing. Now, I'm not saying go drive a 747 or fly a 747 every day. All I'm saying is these plants need us and we need them to survive. The dreamy pathways here are lined thoughtfully with vibrant azaleas, camellias, crepe myrtles, and peppermint peach trees. Just having a meat stick here. Just enjoying myself a nice little meat stick. Now, you may ask me, dear Doosty, why do you enjoy vlogging with food in your mouth? And I say, when you shove a meat stick down your keister, it adds character to your monologues. I'm using the power of 3 different AI gods. I call it the Trinity. In order to look up this information for you, I use Google Gemini, ChatGPT, and Grok, and I have them compete over the best information I can get over this plant life and this plant ID system, basically. And they battle. Those 3 AI gods battle for you in order for you to get information on these plants. See, it says, water this park. Water this park. Which I already did. I watered the park with urine. Now, mind you, if you have to use the restroom and you're in nature, it's perfectly fine. You are allowed to water nature with urine. There's nothing wrong with it. So, if you have to go, my best advice is probably just find a tree or an area where there's low visibility, where there's not a lot of people around, and then you're fine. And if you do this too, try to stay away from law enforcement. especially in the US. Global South, the rest of the world, they don't really care about these things. But in the US in particular, they will write you a ticket if you decide to water the park with your urine. So remember that when you're at a place like Hampton Park. Always in life, proceed with a little caution. But once you leave the confines of the US, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff, because everyone understands and knows globally that it's just nature. It's just how it works. The US has an intolerance for bodily functions. The rest of the world doesn't really have that. But we here do. So if you're going to use the restroom in the park, you have to be very cautious. And know that it does come with consequences. Wow, my hat just flew off. My hat just flew off. Like, people can see, the park can see my bald spot. I don't want you to see it in my bald spot. You son of a goose. You son of a goosey goose. Here's a sign that commemorates where the first Memorial Day was celebrated, here in Charleston at Hampton Park. On May 1st, 1865, a parade to honor the Union war dead took place here. This is where the dead Confederates were laid to rest. On a mass grave. In a mass grave, 200 of them piled upon each other. My guess is that the celebration was more like of a Day of the Dead type celebration, or a New Orleans style celebration that actually took the some of the culture of the Caribbean and of the Hispanic cultures, which treat death differently, and they're more celebratory and revelatory actually about death, instead of being somber like the Anglo-Saxons or the Calvinists or the Puritan Christians. The Catholics, on the other hand, were vivacious, and they celebrated. So the culture you have here in the Deep South is you've got a lot of that Creole influence of the Caribbean cultures. And that's what happened here in this park, as people began dancing and celebrating on the dead. Now that's the difference between English settlers that came from England or the Scotch Irish versus, well, the French and the Spanish influence, which also can be seen here in the South. Here we have a water fountain for dogs. No, not those dogs. These dogs. See that? That's how you know you're in the developing world. You know that you're in a first world country when they have water fountains in the park just for dogs. So you can bring your dog here and they can drink happily from that. And up here, for regular humans. Oh, it tastes like fluoride. Unfortunately, in America, the food is poison. I know RFK gets a lot of flack, but I mean, I could just taste it drinking the water. I hope one day America can take all the garbage out of its food, and I know it's a huge profit incentive in DC, and there's a lot of lobbyists that make money on this, but we'll see cancer rates decline and people living a lot healthier life if the US can prevail and do that. But for now, though, if you go to other countries that are way poorer than developing countries, third world countries, why do they have better food than we do? Oh, Bill Gates, what did you do? So sad. And for those countries that don't let Monsanto in and any of the GMO stuff in, good on you. You have a healthier population that has less anxiety, population that lives longer, has less inflammation, and is less obese, has less diabetes, has less heart issues. And they don't pump fluoride in the water either. Oh yeah?
You don't never stop eating.
Stevie, are you constipated?
I imagine they gotta wait. Do what they do.
That's funny how he just gives you a tail waddle like that. Just like, hey, here I am, you gotta put food in me.
It's like a dog waggling its tail.
Now, the history of Charleston is very interesting. It is the original spot in the U.S. for the slave trade. And also, a lot of industry came out of Charleston from the ports and in. So imports and exports and all the textiles, cotton, human trafficking, and any type of industry. All of it entered into that port area. And even today, Charleston's port is one of the largest ports in all the East Coast. Now, I'm not sure if it's the largest one, but it's definitely one of them. In fact, it makes me curious. I want to find out what the top 3 busiest ports are in the East Coast of the United States. Now, what makes Charleston so unique, though, is that Charleston imported a lot of agrarian goods because the South was known for its agrarian agriculture, whereas the north of the East Coast was known for industrial. Now, behind me here, as we can see up here, we have a pine, but it is not a white pine. It's a different type of pine. And today, we're going to identify that pine. The smooth skin of a crepe myrtle, and in the distance, a church bell. Do you want to see some southern culture? Some southern plantain culture? An old portico from way back when? Old portico. An old portico. An old school portico. Old colonial style house. First Church of Christ the Scientist. I didn't know that Christ was a scientist, but I believe it. I believe that Christ was a scientist. I do now. After seeing this building, I believe that Christ can be a scientist. First Church of Christ the Scientist. I guess this is the first church here in Charleston where Christ became a scientist, where Christ was baptized as a scientist. And according to biological, evolutionary psychology, and evolution, I believe that Christ is the ultimate scientist. Christ created evolution. Why not? I don't see how any of those things are bad. Leave a comment if you disagree. I'd love to hear and see if you can give me counter evidence that backs up the claim that being a scientist or that creating biological evolution and evolutionary psychology and how that is problematic or a bad thing. Biological evolution, evolutionary psychology, evolutionary theory, all coming from Christ. Complete, total, net positive. I don't see how anyone could counter that and furnish me evidence to prove me wrong. Or to at least prove the idea that Christ the scientist is a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. But honestly, that building, that was a Scientology building. It has nothing to do with Christ being the ultimate scientist, which he is. That building over there is, like most churches, well, I don't want to rant too much. An institution of man. But yet, as discussed in previous videos, that is our right to worship, to experience religious catharsis. But yet it is a man-made and man-created institution, inspired by God. So, the Church of Scientology is allowed to have its building, it's allowed to have its Tom Cruises, and who's the closeted fella? Oh, he's in Greece. John Travolta's. The John Travoltas and Tom Cruises of the world, you're allowed, you can have it all. That's the beautiful thing about living in the U.S. You can have man-made institutions, and they have their right, their First Amendment right, the freedom to worship. If this conversation sparks any type of interest for you, I highly recommend this video right here. One of my previous earlier videos, where I talk about our First Amendment right and our right to worship freely. So that's why I can only make fun of Scientology or Mormonism or any other religion so much, because in the end, it's someone's God-given right. The only exception I have with it, and with this expression, is that you can't go so far as to, perhaps, blow yourself up over it. Like, that is counterintuitive and not good for humanity. It starts getting dangerous and precarious is when you start offing yourself in the name of religion. That's where I draw the line. So as long as you're not harming anyone, go ahead. Worship God. This is how you know we're in the South. Check out all these rules. Tell me which one that you might think that is objectionable. Unleashed animals, failure to remove animal waste, golfing, swimming, or fishing, use of alcoholic beverages or drugs, use of metal detectors and or digging, parking or driving on the grass, motorized vehicles on all trails, littering and vandalism, fireworks and weapons, loud music, camping or loitering, profanity. Wow. This park will not accept profanity. So it is noted, duly noted, on this sign. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you know you're in the South. So at this park, I don't recommend saying it's a no-no. When you come to this park in Charleston, South Carolina, that you do not use any profanity. Now remember that when you come here. No profanity. Don't touch the cookie jar. You son of a gun. This is a truly charming place that has history going all the way back to the beginning of this nation, when we overthrew the British. Now, with all that being said, I'd like to say goodbye until next time.
Hasta la vista. 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 Baby. 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 Baby.
I'm back. I wanted to throw this extra footage in for your guys' pleasure, for your enjoyment. Just because in the end of videos I always like little Easter egg surprises, little egg surprises. This over here is the coast of South Carolina, and this is the bay. Currently we're on the same latitude as Algeria, Libya, and Egypt. So if you look out on the line and you walk out and take a boat or fly an airplane directly to the right of Charleston, if you keep going, those are the countries that you're gonna hit. This is where all the crabs live, where the water birds feast on the crabs. This is a protected water bird preserve. So I'm always curious to figure out what cities around the world where I'm at, what other countries or other cities might lie on that same longitudinal line on the map. It's always fun to visualize and imagine, but it really does go to show that no matter where we are, we're not really alone. We might think our city or our country is unique, but actually it's on a longitudinal line similar to many other cities and countries that have a similar topography, often similar climate, similar soil type, similar air and humidity, and also flora and fauna, plant life and animal life, and even bird life. So it's kind of cool because that idea of longitudinal similarity, it really unites us. It actually does the opposite of separating nation states and cities. It actually unites them. So a lot of times on maps you have other cities around the world that have sister cities that sit on the same latitude, or sit on the same degree and latitude. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. I'm back again. Here I am in the Isle of Palms in Charleston, South Carolina. I wanted to park illegally. Well, hopefully I'm not parked illegally. We'll see what happens, but I just want to see this ocean here. So earlier what I was saying about the latitude or the longitude, I should say, of an area, well, here it is. Here's the Atlantic Ocean. If we keep going straight from here on, we're gonna hit Algeria, Libya, or Egypt. Check it out. That is the Isle of Palms. Looks like this ocean is fine sand ocean we have here. And the average cost of a home at the island of Palms, I'll list that right here. So if you are fortunate enough to be able to afford a home that is worth that much, good on to you. You could live here. Get your castle of sand. You too can have a castle of sand. I hope you enjoyed this extra B-roll footage today. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, so I figured, you know what, I might as well just throw it in on the end for your enjoyment, for your pleasure. I always like movies and videos where they throw the extras in. Extra outtakes in the end. Alright. See you soon. Tschüss.